Okay, so Jessica and I do a lot of work on Upwork, and for the majority of the projects that we win, we're earning at least $100 per hour. So if you're a freelancer out there and you're using Upwork and you want to get to a point where you can charge at least $100 per hour, we're going to go over what you need to do to make that a reality.
Step one, and this is going to sound incredibly counterintuitive, but it's stop charging hourly. Right? And it can be easy when you're first starting out as a freelancer and you're trying to figure out like what is your freelancing rate? How do we even come to that conclusion? And you might be tempted to just reference maybe your 9 to 5 job. You're like, okay, in my 9 to 5 job, I made, $20 an hour, maybe $25 an hour. And then all of a sudden that becomes your anchor price point. And we all kind of fall into that initial trap. I know I did. I know Tyler did, but that is the wrong way to go about it. So, first and foremost, stop charging hourly and switch your pricing model to project based pricing.
Yeah, exactly. So step one to make $100 an hour on Upwork is to stop charging hourly on Upwork. And the exception to this would be high-end consulting or any sort of niche where clients are usually okay with the idea of paying 100, 200, $300 an hour. But for the most part, do not charge hourly unless you're in high-end consulting or something like that. And the reason for that is $100 an hour sounds expensive. Okay, this is all about psychology, really. This is the psychology of pricing. And anything over $100 an hour to most clients feels or sounds expensive, even though if they paid the same amount at the end of the day for that project on a project-based fixed price, the hourly rate, knowing it's $100 an hour, will feel more expensive to them. So as stupid as it sounds, that's just the reality of it. And that's why you want to do a fixed price, because the hourly breakdown becomes a little more ambiguous and the client goes from worrying about what you're making per hour and goes to, is this value that you're going to give me in excess of the money that I'm going to pay? So you're getting them out of this, worrying about price, worrying about time, worrying about how much it's costing them every single hour. And you're moving them into a model where they can do a quick calculation in their head and say, yes, $500 for this project is worth it for the value that I'm getting in return. So it's kind of a psychology thing, but if you want to make good money on Upwork, get away from the hourly thing. That's the first thing you got to do.
So, let's say I land a client at like a $1,500 monthly retainer for maybe, I don't know, marketing services, right? So the client knows that's how much I'm going to invoice at the end of each month. And we have agreed upon deliverables. So we're in a great partnership together. Well, on my end of things, I know I'm going to be charging this client $1,500 a month. I loosely know how many hours of work that's going to take me. So on my end, I'm going to work as efficiently and smart as possible to get that number down. And so, therefore, maybe I am only working 3 to 4 hours every week. And then, yes, my hourly rate becomes $100 an hour. So, you got to know your numbers, right? You got to know, okay, on average, how long is this going to take me? And then be really efficient and very structured with your time.
Yeah, I always say when you're starting out freelancing, your hourly rate, even though you're not charging hourly, it should be double what your hourly rate was at your employee job. And the reason for that is that basically when you're an employee, you're giving your employer a huge discount on bulk pricing. You're giving them a bulk discount. And that bulk discount basically says, I'm going to give you a good rate on my hourly rate because you're going to keep paying me month in, month in, month in. Whereas when you're a freelancer, the work comes in completely sporadically, depends on your market, depends on the season. And so you can't give that bulk discount to clients because your work, why would you give them a discount if they're not hiring you more than just one project? So think of the rate that you give your employer as bulk discount. And then when you're working with clients on a freelance rate, that is the full rate that you're actually worth on an hourly rate.
And we haven't even talked about taxes, business insurance, additional expenses that come with freelancing. So that $100 an hour gets reduced very quickly. And so it's like you're no longer just making $100 an hour, you're more realistically making $50 an hour or below.
So step one to make $100 an hour on Upwork is stop charging hourly. Step two is put yourself in an upper echelon when it comes to quality and professionalism. What do we mean by that? We mean that every single element of your profile, every single element of your presence, every single element of your communication when you're talking to clients is a 9 or a 10 out of 10 when it comes to quality and professionalism. So, what does that look like, Jessica?
Yeah, so it goes back to risk, right? So the client is evaluating all of these data points. They're seeing how well do you respond to messages? What does your Upwork profile look like? How are you presenting yourself on video calls? How quickly are you responding? It's all of these data points, and they're trying to make the decision, are you the freelancer that's the best fit for our project, or should we go with a different freelancer? So, yes, through every aspect of your presence, of what you bring to the table, has to be at least a 9 out of 10. So, yes, as you're taking a video call with them, how is your audio? How is your lighting? How are you articulating your thoughts and communicating with them? How is your Upwork profile? How is your messaging? Are you quick to respond, right? So, they're just evaluating all of these data points. And it does take some time too. I know for me personally, it's a skill that I've developed over the years and got the reps in. So, providing that professional presence can really justify a higher price point. And so the client can understand, that's why Jessica charges $100 an hour. It's clear to me in everything that she's doing. She's a premium option. I'd like to have a conversation with her.
Exactly. And so, a lot of us talk about we focus on having a high level profile, but it's actually not only about your high level profile. Your high level profile is what gets you in the door, and your high level communication and your high level professionalism is what actually closes the deal. And I don't think we focus enough on that last step enough. I think a lot of us focus on our profile and our portfolio, but when it comes to your presence and when you're communicating with the client, how professional are you? Do you come across like someone that is worth $100, $200 an hour? And so you have to be congruent. Your profile has to match your communication, which has to match your work. And so when you're communicating with clients, if your light bulb is flickering in the background and there's a dog whining, that is not going to be congruent with a high level profile, and they're not going to see you as the $100, $200 option. And the last thing I'll bring up is your demeanor, the way that you come across needs to be like a consultant. So if you want to be a high level $100, $200 an hour freelancer, you need to see yourself and you need to believe in yourself as the consultant. You always want to take a consultative approach. And that means you're not a yes man. You're not someone who's desperate for work. You're not someone that's just going to do whatever it takes to come across well. You're asking relevant, deep questions that the client might not easily answer. You're the consultant and you're there to help bring them from point A to point B. And that means it's a two-way street on the communication.
We're largely talking about high value clients here, right? Those are the clients that you want to go after. Sure, if there's low value clients out there and they don't care about your professionalism, they want a yes ma'am. They want someone who's going to work at the cheapest hourly rate, who's just going to get the job done overnight. No, those are not the clients we're talking about. That's why we're stressing the importance of being professional and exuding that confidence, because it attracts the high value clients. And those are the only clients that you want on Upwork.
So, obviously, it goes without saying, if your grammar isn't 100% accurate, that is going to be an immediate tell, and you will not be able to charge $100 an hour. If the language that you're speaking, if you can't speak it at an expert level, you are disqualified from earning over $100 an hour. That's just an instant disqualification, because high level clients, one of the main reasons they hire freelancers is because they want someone that they can communicate with and be a true partner with. And if your communication and your grammar isn't 10 out of 10, they're not going to hire you at that rate.
Because they're looking for inconsistencies. So if they see that your grammar through Upwork messages, something's off, it's not up to snuff, they're going to directly make the connection that whatever deliverable you're sending their way is also not going to be up to snuff.
So, for all of you freelancers out there who might not have English as your native language, if you're trying to win work with a native English speaker, your English needs to be perfect. And that means no heavy accents. That means no grammar mistakes. If you want to make $100 an hour with native English speakers, your English needs to be perfect. And I think a lot of people that I've come across as freelancers, that's an area that they need to improve on.
So, step three is be specialized in the right area. Notice how I mentioned the right area because you can be specialized, right? You can be specialized in a oversaturated market, but you won't be able to charge $100 an hour because there's too much saturation. There's too many people in that market. It's going to be hard for you to charge $100 an hour. So that's why you want to evaluate the market, right? You got to keep a close pulse on the market. I mean, that's what a really good freelancer does, regardless of what's happening. They can understand, okay, this is very saturated. This service is very saturated. Let me pivot to this service where there's less competition. And so, therefore, I'm able to charge higher rates. I'm able to be a go to premium option and charge $100 an hour.
Yeah, it's the unfortunate reality of the market. Like, you can be an expert at pretty much anything in this world, but if there's no market willing to pay for a premium option, it doesn't really matter if you're trying to make that much money.
And like I've mentioned before, that's what makes a really successful freelancer because at the end of the day, you're not just a freelancer, it's your business. You are a business owner, maybe of one, maybe of two, but you still own a business. So the smartest business owners out there are able to pivot. They're able to get a pulse on the landscape, a pulse on the market. What is happening right now? Where are the shifts happening? And to be able to spot opportunities and pivot as needed. I think that's such a crucial, crucial skill set of a successful freelancer is seeing new opportunities, not being afraid to pivot, and looking for, financial areas where they can capitalize.
Yeah, and we're not even saying that you have to pivot, in a massively drastic way, but you do need to know who your target market is, and hopefully it's a specific target market and not just anyone that has a credit card, because you need to be able to be flexible enough to know, like, hey, this is what I'm offering. Maybe I can tweak it in a certain way to where I become the premium option in this niche versus being a commodity in this niche. So if you're trying to make over $100 an hour, you need to know your market and you need to be able to adapt and shift and change your offer based on the commoditization of different markets.
And we're trying to protect you from working with those low value clients because we don't want you to be burned. We've all worked with those low value clients, and it's really easy to get burned and to maybe even want to give up, right? So we want to see you have success as a freelancer. And part of that strategy is only working with high value clients so you can sustain not only your mental energy and your mental capacity, but also your financial capacity. So you can actually make it as a freelancer. So, those are the three steps to charging $100 an hour. First one being stop charging hourly. Second one being exuding confidence and professionalism. And then thirdly is to specialize in the right areas. So hopefully that was helpful. If you are a freelancer and you are charging $100 an hour, we'd love to know your thoughts on this. If you have any additional points to add, we would love to hear them. And if you are looking for extra support, we will be launching our private community on School in the coming months. So please email Tyler if you are interested, and we will see you in the next one.